There comes a point in your life where you must stand up and say, "I will not carry the weight of other people's poor choices." You are not their excuse. You are not the reason they didn't succeed. And yet for so long they tried to make you believe you were. That ends now. Some people don't want to face themselves, so they point fingers. When life gets hard, they look around for someone to blame, and unfortunately, you were the easiest target. Not because you were guilty, but because your light made them uncomfortable. They projected their pain, their disappointments, and their failures onto you. They couldn't see themselves clearly, so they painted you as the villain in their story. But you were never the villain. You were the mirror that reflected what they refused to work on. These people didn't want to grow. They didn't want to face their wounds or take responsibility for their stagnation. Instead, they decided you were the reason they couldn't move forward. But truth has a way of surfacing, and now they can't blame you anymore. You've removed yourself from the chaos. You've stepped into a new space where healing is the priority and elevation is the standard. You're around people who nourish your spirit, not drain it. That's growth. That's protection. That's alignment. They had no business accusing you. No right. While you were fighting your own battles, they were busy crafting stories that made you out to be the source of their downfall. But what they never realized is, your only crime was trying to live in peace. The truth is, they didn't put in the work. They were waiting for someone to hand them success, healing, and happiness on a silver platter. And when that didn't happen, they turned their frustration toward you. It was never about you. It was always about their own lack of effort. Some people are emotional parasites. They see your energy, your confidence, your growth, and they want it. Not by doing the work, but by draining you. You were a well they kept returning to, not to nourish you, but to take until you had nothing left. And when you stopped pouring into them, suddenly you became the enemy. But let me tell you this, protecting your energy does not make you a villain. Choosing peace does not make you selfish. Walking away from dysfunction is the definition of self-love. They used guilt as a weapon. You're the reason the family is falling apart. You're the reason things aren't going right. But the truth is, they refuse to evolve. They refuse to shift. And now their own stagnation is knocking on their door. You were always the positive force, the encourager, the one who tried to uplift and heal. But their negativity was louder than your kindness. And now that you've stepped back, they feel the void. Not because you hurt them, but because they no longer have your light to feed off. These people are now facing themselves. They can't blame you anymore, and that's uncomfortable for them. Accountability always is, but the moment you took your hands off their life is the moment you gave them the opportunity to finally grow. Some are realizing too late. Time has passed. Years have flown by. They're older now, sitting in regret, wondering why they didn't do what they were supposed to do when the opportunities were there. And guess what? They're still trying to blame you for the time they wasted. You did what they wouldn't. You kept moving. You kept evolving. You transformed your pain into power. Your scars became stories of survival, not excuses. You didn't wait for a handout. You created a way out. They thought you would fold, that the lack of support would break you, that isolation would destroy you. But instead, it refined you. You turned that silence into focus, that heartbreak into healing, that rejection into redirection. And now, your life is a testimony of transformation. You're not the same person. You're stronger. You're wiser. You've built yourself from the ground up, and nothing they say can take that away from you. Misery may love company, but you've chosen joy, peace, and growth instead. That's why they can't reach you anymore. You no longer vibrate on the same frequency, and that's okay. Let them sit in the consequences of their own inaction. You owe them nothing, not your energy, not your sympathy, not your explanation. They had the same 24 hours, the same opportunity to evolve, but they chose comfort in blame over the courage to change. So when they point fingers, let them. You've detached from their opinions, you know the truth. And the truth is, you are rising. You are becoming. You are fulfilling what was always inside of you. No one can stop that. Keep going. Keep glowing. Keep growing. Because the greatest revenge is your evolution, not out of spite, but out of purpose. You are proof that rising from the ashes is possible, even when the world tries to label you as the flame. And now repeat this prayer with me. Dear God, thank you for the wisdom to discern those who drained my energy and twisted the truth. I release the need to explain myself to those who never wanted to understand me in the first place. Grant me continued peace in my heart and the strength to walk boldly in my purpose without guilt. Help me to let go of false burdens and stop carrying what was never mine to begin with. Lord, surround me with people who are aligned with growth, truth, and authenticity. May I never fall into the trap of shrinking myself to make others comfortable again. Heal the parts of me that were wounded by blame, manipulation, and emotional attacks. Pour into me the resilience to rise above pettiness and bitterness. Keep my path protected and my spirit anchored in self-respect and truth. Thank you for the elevation, for the distance, and for the clarity to finally be free. Amen.